If I can invite you to take your seat, we are going to go ahead and get this thing started. All right, everyone. My name is Josh Ambrose, and I'm the Director of Student Ventures here at the Pava Center. It's my pleasure, along with the rest of our full-time staff and our student staff, to welcome you to our space here today. I'm particularly honored to have the LaPere family and our special speakers here today, who you'll hear from very shortly. Before we begin, I want to do a quick thanks for our comms and operation teams, both at JHTV and on main campus. They moved heaven and earth and worked with the rain and all kinds of other logistics, a little earthquake this week, to get branding, signage, and logistics squared away for today. We are very grateful. Can you join me in a round of applause? Thank you. Thank you. As you know, today is a very special rededication of this space, but not just our space, all that we do to support students, alumni, and community change makers through our programming. Key to that mission is my boss and an original visionary for this endeavor, Christy Weiskell, head of Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures. Please join me in welcoming her to the front of the room.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship. What an incredible day to honor this legacy. I had the incredible honor of joining Johns Hopkins 10 years ago, and a lot of the initial focus and energy of the team was on faculty and faculty inventors. And as many of you know, one day out of the blue, I received an email from a student who had already been toiling and working on helping student innovators, building programs, building space for mentors to come in and speak, and basically said, you're just not doing enough for students. This is what you should do. Build on what I have done. And of course, that email came from Pava. Who was absolutely unafraid and authentically there to tell me exactly what we needed to do, and we followed that to a T. This building, the programs, the things that we have set up, the funding mechanisms, it's all part of her legacy. At the same time, my boss, President Daniels, he's been at Hopkins, by the way, this is his 15th year, and so he had been around thinking about ecosystem and ecosystem building. And another passion of his is also the undergraduate experience. And so as an undergrad, as when Pava was an undergrad, he really leaned into the idea that we could and should also be doing more for our students, specifically our student entrepreneurs. And so it was this really magical thing that happened where at the time Pava was doing it organically, the boss came and said, can you do more here? Those threads came together and formed exactly what you're seeing, both the physical manifestation of today and also the programming that goes on in these buildings, of which many of you have been a part of. And so I'm just really grateful for the visionary individuals that came to make this happen, for all the support that so many of you in this room have provided. And with that, I would like to turn over to President Daniels to tell us a little bit more. Thank you, Rob.
Well, thank you, Christy. I should just start off and say, when Christy describes that first interaction with Pava, it actually tracks almost perfectly the first interaction I had with Christy Weiskell. Because Bob Embry, who's a very senior leader in the city, felt it was really important that I meet Christy Weiskell. Do you know Christy Weiskell? I don't know Christy Weiskell. I haven't met her. You got to know Christy Weiskell. She'll be really anxious to meet you, and she's got some ideas. And so the first time we sat down, Christy in my office, turns out she had lots of ideas about all the things that we were doing wrong. And there was no shortage of things that we were doing wrong and doing better. But I should say, what was particularly moving about our first interaction, apart from the obvious and palpable energy and imagination Christy brought, was a sense that the world would be just so much better if we would get rid of all the lawyers at Johns Hopkins who are somehow impeding the progress of the entrepreneurial ecosystem that existed. But in fact, the spirit that Christy has brought and the joining with Pava and with all of you is really, really powerful and palpable. So truly, Christy, thank you for your leadership at Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures. And it's not just that Christy helps us translate, get ideas, have impact. It is her deep commitment to the city. And so thank you for your incredible leadership on so many different fronts. So I'm truly heartened to see such a remarkable gathering of people who feel this deep affinity for Pava, for the work she championed, and for the possibilities of this place. A place that from this day forward will be officially known as the Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship. And we should do another round of applause for this. So we all share the sense of profound loss of Pava as a fearless entrepreneur, an unflagging advocate for equity and opportunity, and a proud Baltimorean and Hopkins alum who gave her full measure, not only to making her own audacious ideas a reality, but also forging a path for others to realize theirs. To lose someone with a lifelong commitment to becoming, to improving, to strengthening herself, and everything and everyone she touched is, of course, incomprehensible. And yet, all who know Pava know well, who know her well, knew how much, and in no uncertain terms, that she would not want our grief to prevent us from looking forward to the future. Envisioning a brighter future and investing in making it a reality is what this center has been about since its inception 5 years ago. Today, by renaming Fast Forward University, so yesterday, Pava's brainchild, in her honor, we are doing our best to make sense of our loss by ensuring that this place stands as an enduring memory to her values and her energy and her dreams. A place where students, alumni, and community entrepreneurs alike are hatching new ideas and transforming them into businesses that sustain our city and our neighbors. A place that has brought in hundreds of millions in startup funding and engaged more than 100 teams in programs each year. A place that embodies what Pava loved most about Baltimore, its quirky pluck, its entrepreneurial ethos, bold creativity, and diverse talent. A place that still carries the imprint of Pava's own student-centered accelerators, TCO Labs, and the Hatchery, and one that shares her beloved EcoMaps Technologies commitment to bridging the glaring gaps in entrepreneurial capital and connections that exist for far too many people in our community. And a place that will continue to sustain Pava's vision, supported with an initial $2 million in endowed funding to activate budding entrepreneurs across Hopkins and Baltimore. And we are determined to see that that sum grows. So we hope that with your support and partnership in this center that we will see this investment grow, further realizing Pava's belief that everyone, from a first-year student to a local business owner to a clinician inventing life-saving technology, can bring something new to the world and to have impact. So, Carolyn, Frank, Nico, thank you for entrusting us to carry on Pava's amazing legacy. I know from the first time we talked about this, you didn't miss a beat in saying this was the right thing to do. And so we're so honored, truly feel a sense of privilege that you have entrusted us with attaching her name to the center and to what we count as being an enduring and very profound legacy. Thank you all for being here, for joining us to dedicate this center as a living testament to Pava's entrepreneurial vision and her boundless promise and her deep, deep love of the city. I'll turn things now over to Dean Alex Triantis to share a few words. Alex.
Thank you very, very much. I'm Alex Triantis from the Dean of the Carey Business School, and I very, very much appreciate being part of this wonderful celebration for such a special place. The Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship is such a critical part of our students' education at Hopkins, and particularly so for the Carey Business School students. It is, of course, a dream of many of our students to create a startup which will be wildly successful and, importantly, have a huge impact helping people. And while only a few students may achieve the dream right after graduation, the experience of learning about innovation and entrepreneurship is highly beneficial to all students regardless of what they end up doing. The world is changing so rapidly, and it's become so critical to learn how to be creative, learn how to design a product, a service, a process with a customer-centric or human-centric approach, to learn how to navigate the challenges of actually implementing a new creation and practice, to learn how to do this as part of a team, and to learn how to fail with routine frequency and be resilient and persistent. My colleagues and I at the Carey Business School have been so fortunate to develop close ties with JHTV, working with the amazing team here, and thank you particularly to Christy and to Josh for all the time that they spend with us. Our students are exposed to all the opportunities here, starting in their orientation week, through workshops and panels that are part of our classes, and most importantly, we're fortunate that Christy teaches one of our most popular classes. Our students have been part of more than 100 student venture teams over the past 4 years here. A dozen have been interns over the past couple of years. Several have been part of the Commercialization Academy. Many students benefit from weekly office hours held by JHTV at Carey. And our students participate in demo days culminating in the Student Venture Showcase in 3 weeks at Carey, and this would not be possible without all of Josh's involvement. There are no shortage of opportunities for our students to be inspired by and to learn from the staff and colleagues involved here at this center, and we are excited to keep building together. We also hope, and it was the vision of our benefactor, Bill Carey, that great new companies will be created and evolve here at Hopkins and stay and grow in Baltimore, led by our alumni. Finally, I'd like to share the perspective of one student, actually not a Carey Business School student, but my daughter, Sophia, who was very privileged to know and be inspired by Pava, and she graduated here from the BME program 3 years ago. And so she had a lot of thoughts. I've brought it down to just a few here, but I'll just read verbatim here. Pava was an inspiration to all budding entrepreneurs at JHU. When I participated in TCO's hatchery program my freshman year with zero foundation in entrepreneurship, Pava and team created an environment that made the path to bringing an idea to life both accessible and fun. FFU quickly became a place that felt like home, and I would look forward to evenings spent brainstorming or in the makerspace. The warmth and kindness to student entrepreneurs and the openness and dedication to creativity were paramount to Pava's impact, and it made FFU such an exciting place to be. I'm thrilled that the space will honor her impact on a generation of JHU and Baltimore entrepreneurs, and cannot wait to see the future and growth of this space to come. End quote, and I couldn't agree more. So thank you very much.
So hey everyone, by way of introduction, my name is Shrenik Jain. I am a undergrad at Hopkins that has actually been very fortunate and seen a lot of success in my entrepreneurial journey. I started my company Marigold Health with the goal of basically making it more accessible for people to get help for mental health and substance use conditions. And since I started that company, we've grown to be over 50 people across the country. Thousands of people have used our platform to get help. But if you rewind the clock, 8 years ago, it was once a project, a dorm room project with a couple co-founders. And Pava was someone who played a very special role in helping us out in the earliest stages. And I wanted to share an interaction I had with Pava years ago that sort of sticks in my head as really the sort of animating force behind why we have, the Pava Center now. And I remember this was About 6 months after I had taken a leave of absence to start this company and found Marigold, I had thought, hey, I'd come to Hopkins thinking I'd become a doctor, just like Pava and pretty much everyone on my fresh room dorm floor. But then, the universe had other plans, and I had some personal experiences working as an EMT that led me to start Marigold and convince 2 co-founders to come along for the ride. Now, 6 months in, we only had about $6,000 in total funding from the business plan competition, and I was starting to wonder if we had maybe been a little hasty on taking the plunge there. And I remember one Friday, it was a Sunday, because on Monday, a investor was waiting for a 12-page proposal from us that if they liked it, they would have given us $100,000, which would have been a huge amount for us at that time. So the night before, at 6 p.m., I go into Brody with my team. We had a room booked. We thought, it's no big deal. A couple hours, we'll write this, and we'll be good. So no. So it wasn't going so great. And then before I knew it, the sun was rising. And I wasn't feeling too great. And I remember I got a notification from my calendar. I was supposed to meet Pava for breakfast. We were brothers in AK Psi. And Pava was like, Pava, I got to cancel. I'm underwater here. And Pava was like, shut up. Where are you? She shows up. She's like, what's the issue? And I'm like, this is horrible. And she reads it, and she's like, yeah, this is horrible. I wouldn't give you money if you gave me this. So I was like, Pava, are you saying we shouldn't, I shouldn't send it? And she's like, don't be stupid, Trenik. Like there's so many people who've pulled all-nighters at Hopkins for a paper or an exam, and at the end of the day, what do they have? They have a good grade. We have an idea that could change the world, and all you got to do is come up with the right words, and some guy's going to give you $100,000. So I'm going to bail you out. You're going to help me write in the nicest email possible to get you a 24-hour extension, and you're going to take a nap in that corner, and I'm going to bail you out. And you know what? We got that money. So the point though, looking back in those days, it was really hard for students who wanted to create a startup to find each other. And by creating this place, we're making it that much easier for students to find and support each other in the way that the Hopkins community is best at. So thank you so much for this honor. The students are going to love this space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bailey Surtees, founder and CEO of Kubanda Cryotherapy, Johns Hopkins undergraduate spinout, and I'm going to share my friendship with Pava. But first, I wanted to start with how we met. So before we were a company, we were also a student project, my junior and senior design project, and none of FFU existed yet. And we were approaching graduation excited, but we had also just done some experiments that showed our cryotherapy system for treating cancer could actually treat cancer really effectively. So what was next? What did exist was the hatchery and Pava. Some of the folks on my team set up a meeting. We met with the hatchery, and this sophomore walks in, huge ideas, ready to talk. There was no focus on, oh, you're 22 and you want to make something to deal with cancer. Instead, it was, what's next? How big is your market? What's your go-to-market strategy, and how are we doing this? Hands were flying. She probably said it 3 times as fast. She believed in us, and she believed in student entrepreneurship. And we became friends a few years later. We bonded over entrepreneurship, obviously, but also musicals, cats, ridiculous entrepreneurship memes, and obsession with the passion that can be found here in Baltimore in our local startup ecosystem. I started doing wine and wines with Pava and other women founders in our network. And beyond being a place to share our founder struggles, it was a great way to come together. I remember one with her and Sarah Lee, a friend whose company Relavo also started out of Hopkins. We were at the building that was her and Kevin's accelerator that they had started, talking about everything from Hamilton, our love lives, fundraising, what payroll software do you even use? I complimented the space they'd found because, of course, Pava, the fresh grad, started a live-in accelerator while simultaneously working on the early stages of EcoMap. She gushed about the architecture and said, it might make sense if we just bought the building. What could it be? A couple mil? That was Pava. Friend, confident, dreamer, and having an extremely limited idea of what is and isn't possible. While I jokingly reminded her that we don't have a couple million yet, she responded with a glimmer in her eye, "No, we don't, but we could probably figure it out, couldn't we?" She saw the value in investing in entrepreneurs and small business owners, in community spaces, and in Baltimore, and in setting the stage for anyone to have what they need to pursue their passion, tackling issues. Sometimes there's just gotta be a better way. This building, the Pava Center, is such a testament to that. I look forward to seeing the amazing things that come out of it, and more important, the entrepreneurs and community who do. In this way, we can honor Pava's legacy by being force multipliers in our community and coming together, building that entrepreneurial community to make change.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Carter. I'm the Director of Business Development for Ecomap Technologies, a position I've held since Pava poached me from this job at Fast Forward U, the organization formerly known as Fast Forward U. So there's a quote that now greets you on the wall when you walk into the space. Sometimes the only qualification you have to build something is the fact that you're willing to build it. That was from Pava's TEDx talk during her senior year at Hopkins, titled "Forget About Your Life Plan," in the context of starting a student-run incubator called The Hatchery to teach other students how to start ventures. But right before that, Pava was talking about her first for-profit venture, air quotes because it never made a profit, because she received a $10,000 grant from the Ralph S. O'Connor Fund, which was the first student undergrad opportunity to actually receive funding, and that she ended up returning $9,500 of that $10K grant after only buying about a dozen web domains. So her perceived failure led to severe imposter syndrome, later remarking, "I had absolutely, utterly failed, and now it was my job to teach students how to not do that." So I would argue that Pava didn't fail. Her startup, absolutely. It failed to get off the ground for a dozen reasons that she could and would tell you all about. But Pava the entrepreneur, she gained invaluable experience. How to take your lumps as an intrepid founder, how to grow from inevitable mistakes, and she succeeded because the primary goal of a student entrepreneurship center is not to grow ventures, but to cultivate entrepreneurs. It should create the conditions where a student can take that risk and is empowered to take a leap of faith into the world of entrepreneurship. And if they fall, they're still caught by a safety net made of diplomas. So we all know the depressing statistics about how few startups actually succeed in the traditional sense. And those numbers are even lower for student-founded companies. Every once in a while, will one of those companies raise $7.5 million and grow a team to 30 plus people, work with nearly 100 enterprise customers from Fortune 100 companies, local government, higher ed, and industry associations, all with the goal of making critical ecosystem information more accessible? Sure, every once in a while they will, but most don't. So if that's the only metric for student success, turning into a high growth venture backable company, then we're setting up students for failure. Pava loved entrepreneurship that came in all shapes and sizes, whether it was addressing some of the world's biggest challenges or filling an opportunity in your local community. But most of all, she loved the entrepreneurial mindset. And that's something, a way of looking at the society that we live in, and that's something that can be cultivated outside of any specific venture. So before I conclude, I just want to give a special shout out to some of the early Fast Forward U employees and people that laid the foundation for this space, like Darius Graham, Qasim Ahmad, Brian Stancy, Christy Weiskell, many other people that probably should be here, didn't have the time to put in, for laying the foundation before I even arrived. For Carrie Carden, Carrie Ingram, Kara Fitzpatrick, or as Brian would lovingly refer to us, the special Ks, for incredible colleagues as the center grew. Alex Ream, Madison Marks, and now Anthony Waters for carrying on the torch with the Social Innovation Lab to help bridge that gap with the Baltimore community's entrepreneurs, and of course the current staff with Josh, Paul, Elena, and Sephora, who have taken the Pava Center to new heights. But perhaps there is no one to thank more than Pava herself. Her tenacity in championing a hub for student entrepreneurship very directly led to the creation of this physical space. The Spark Accelerator curriculum that she developed provided guidance for, lost my spot. Hundreds of student entrepreneurs to date, and will surely provide the guidance for thousands more going forward. She made time to give back by judging funding opportunities, speaking at events, meeting individually with student teams, Pava was the paragon of the woman in the arena, and she was setting an example for student entrepreneurs day in, day out, simply by continuing to build. So when students walk into the Pava Center, whether it's next week or decades down the road, my hope is that they see that quote on the wall, they internalize it, they shake off whatever imposter syndrome that they feel, and they get to building. I can think of no better way to build upon Pava's legacy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Madison Marchwinski, and I'm one of many of Pava's aunts, but I'm Aunt Madison, and my sister Caroline is her mother. Pava, everything you have said about Pava today is true. And the truth is, as a child, she demonstrated this attitude of fearlessness and the possibility of anything can be done if you put your mind to it. When she was in first grade, she took on the task of giving up TV for a week. I happened to be visiting, and she looked at Nico and said, "Nico, it's not that hard." He looked at her and turned on the TV. So Pava had that in her. I am here today to say thank you. Thank you to Johns Hopkins University. Thank you to Fast Forward U. Thank you to the students, the colleagues, the president. Thank you for listening, hearing, and embracing her. Pava had grand ideas. She has passion, tenacity, everything everybody's talking about. That's Pava. She was in the room before she entered. She's 5'2" and she's bigger than anyone here. She knew that change could happen, giving students tools and resources to be entrepreneurs. This center in her name, I know she's smiling up in heaven. She's looking at all of you and say, keep going. Don't stop now. There's more to do. So there's a quote that I came across that Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in 1836, and it says, "Throw a stone into a stream, and the ripples that self-propagate are the beautiful type of influence." I think that represents Pava. I think it represents Johns Hopkins University, and the ripple effect is clearly here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the Marchwinski, the LaPere family, the extended family, and our friends. We appreciate you honoring her legacy.
I'm going to pull this down a little more because I'm a couple inches shorter. My name is Anna Michele, and I'm also one of Caroline's sisters. I'm Pava's aunt. Sorry about that. I got the jitters. Okay. Sometimes in life, if you are very lucky, you get to meet a shooting star. Work with them, befriend them, admire their fearlessness in moving through life. My niece, Pava Marie LaPere, was just that. A shooting star, a whirling dervish of energy, hope, passion, and drive. This drive and self-discipline is what landed her here as an eager freshman at Johns Hopkins University. She came to this campus with a desire to change the world, and when she graduated from Johns Hopkins, she left as a leader, an innovator, an entrepreneur, an adult who not only knew what she wanted to do with her life, but how she would do it. And in many ways, the Johns Hopkins University experience was the perfect ecosystem for Pava. A university that would encourage, challenge, and support her visions. She, in turn, persisted, pursued, researched, and found the way to make things happen. My niece saw potential in all things, especially people, and she could draw you in to this lovely, swirling vortex of energy that was inspiring. It was in this swirl that friendships were formed, hires were made, collaborations were explored, pitches to funders were elaborated upon, and new what-ifs emerged. This force was compelling, and it continues to reverberate today, which makes the naming of the Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship so very special to her family. It also offers a balm to a deep and vast wound that is felt at all times, the kind of wound that requires courage to face each day with a resolve to do right by their daughter. And now I am so compelled that I must talk about her core family. I said that Pava was a shooting star, but all shooting stars come into the world. Pava had the best landing possible. Caroline, Pava's mother, and Frank, her father, loved Pava's unique essence from the day she was born and worked tirelessly to provide for her and her brother with the means to have life experiences that would promote their intellect and wonder about the world around them. Her father was Pava's first teacher on how to be an entrepreneur, with the most prominent feature including endless hours of work. She saw firsthand how having a passion for what you do changes the meaning of work. And I'm sure there's many people in this room that can attest to that. If you have passion for what you do, you'll work those hours. Her mother, an avid reader and journal writer, modeled the importance of always seeking knowledge, and more importantly, reflecting on what that knowledge implies. She taught her that life is more than the black and white structure of a to-do list or the accolades of achieving a goal. It was also about looking deeper into the shades of gray that make up our society. Her brother Nico, who is an intellectual and passionate force in his own right, taught his sister the value of arguing a point with logic and applied intellect at a young age. If you ever wondered why she was tenacious with arguing a point or presenting her case with such confidence, I know that Nico played the key role in helping her hone her negotiating skills. He was the perfect big brother to her. And the last thing I must say about their family is if you were lucky to go there every evening, there would be a well-cooked meal and a lovingly set table where everybody sat and had conversations about their day. Take that as a note to yourself. Meeting each day, ending your day at the end of it with family and talking about it is crucial. It also played a role in her as a shooting star. The Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship embodies what Pava carried in her heart. From the self-aware high school student to the thriving entrepreneur, hope. The shining idea that entrepreneurial endeavors can impact positive societal changes, one business at a time. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thank you, President Daniels, Dean Triantis, Christy, and Josh, and everyone else here at Johns Hopkins in this community for the opportunity to speak today. And I stand here with considerable sadness, but more so with unbridled hope for the future. A future that Pava saw early in life in a very unique way, in a different way than most. She wanted to accomplish things at scale. And when she came to Johns Hopkins, she wanted to start her scale in Baltimore. She saw inequity, yet more so, she saw opportunity through entrepreneurship. These words were found in one of her many journals, and they're on the wall. It talks about Pava's love for Baltimore and what she loved about Baltimore. And in her words, she said, "I love Baltimore because I love its entrepreneurs." I think there's a little sticker right here that says that. I love that people have built tech companies here, despite the lack of capital, and that the squeegee boys have created economic opportunity for themselves when none was provided them. I love that artists make music and paint murals in neighborhoods that most people just drive by. I love that the nonprofits and the community groups have dedicated themselves to solving problems that so many people declared unsolvable. I love the informal street markets as much as I love the small business storefronts that line our streets. In a nutshell, she loved Baltimore despite all of its challenges, because its entrepreneurs have risen to meet them and will continue to do so as long as our great city survives. When she saw a void, like a magnet, attached it to her spirit and took it for a ride in the fast lane, which was the only lane she knew how to drive in. Although Nico drove faster. During her freshman year at Hopkins, she identified that void. So along with Anthony and Brooke, they visited Brown University in Providence. On the trip back, they drafted some notes. They met with members of the entrepreneurship program there, and she took copious notes. Pava's notes were always copious, and thankfully they were very legible. So on the trip back, she wrote the outline for what was missing for entrepreneurial students here at Hopkins. And as the story goes, as Christy has alluded to, she said, "We need to have coffee." And Christy listened carefully and took note, while probably thinking, "Just who is this girl?" Pava met no envelope that she did not push. As a family and throughout her life, we have all learned that no was a word that Pava did not accept without one of those thoughtful arguments that Nico taught her. Even if she was not yet qualified, she pushed forward. During her senior year at Hopkins, she gave that TED Talk. And the most important part of it is a couple of words in her famous quote. And it's sometimes the only reason, the only qualification you have to build something is the fact that you are the one willing to build it. I watched that TED Talk in amazement, thinking to myself, just who is this girl? And 2 years later, in the May of 21, EcoMap Technologies, a company that Pava co-founded with Sherrod, won the Biscotti Foundation Prize for student entrepreneurship in this building. That award helped them make payroll and move forward. Entrepreneurship has lots of challenges, yet it is exhilarating and soul-saving and amazingly rewarding. It's kind of like jumping out of a plane with a parachute, which she also did with her lifelong friend Mariah and then taunted Nico and I into following suit. We are proud that our daughter had the courage and determination to keep her companies going. We have gratitude for the institutions and grants that were available then, and more importantly, going forward in Pava's name, but benefiting others, as was her short life's work. That is why the Biscotti Award, the Fuel Accelerator Cohort, the Place Fellowship, the Spark Showcase, and the Pava LaPere Legacy of Innovation Act, which was just passed by the legislature on Thursday. And these programs and others are so vital to the ongoing development of student entrepreneurs. So here we stand, with gratitude for the initial donors who provided funding for this facility, with unbelievable pride for what she accomplished in her time here, and with overwhelming joy that her vision has a strong foundation, a vision supported by so many here at Hopkins, with this center and generous endowment, a vision shared by the technology ecosystems that Pava orbited and was so motivated by here in Baltimore. So together, let's finish the work that Pava so wanted to see come to fruition in this building of ideas, surrounded by this amazing university that is dedicated to that end in her adopted hometown of Baltimore. Pava loves sunrises, and today she would remind us that each sunrise is a kiss from heaven, welcoming you to a brand new day. So get up early and use it wisely. And we thank you from the wholeness of our hearts.
All right. As many here today have heard me say before, Pava was my introduction to Johns Hopkins and to this job. I'm forever grateful and forever honored to build on that foundation for the years to come. We invite you to join us in that work. We have a number of upcoming demo days and showcases here in this building and across campus. Throughout the room, there's little QR codes that you can scan. We would love to see you there. You can also look at our new website, pavacenter.jhu.edu. There's also opportunities here today for you to interact with us. So in the back wall here, you can see right over there, we'd like for you to leave some advice for other entrepreneurs. And we love Post-it notes here, so you can scroll a little note on there and leave it in there. In the back conference room, we have a little video camera set up, and we would love for you to leave a note of encouragement for the entrepreneurs to come. And here on the wall, we have this new chevron installation. We have the opportunity there for you to put your name on a rubber band and be part of the first group that is going to fill that wall with color. It is dedicated in memory of the crazy ones who have gone before us. And we want you to join that. Outside, when you exit today, we have special stickers and t-shirts, hopefully enough for everybody, but there's a lot of us here today. We invite you to take those for yourself, including that sticker about loving Baltimore for its entrepreneurs. And above all else, please stay in touch. We can't do this work without you. Continue to connect with each other as we build an ecosystem that is taking risks and moving forward. With that, I invite you to have a drink, get some food. Thank you for being here.